Yan. Our first speaker this afternoon is a member of the Philippine Society for Microbiology and Infectious Disease, an MD, and is a fellow in Philippine College of Physicians and graduated nursing as pre-med. He studied School of Health Sciences in University of the Philippines, took his IM residency in Zamboanga Medical Center, and his fellowship in Philippine General Hospital, specializes in internal medicine, adult infectious. He is currently a consultant under Department of Internal Medicine and also the head of the Antimicrobial Stewardship Program Infection Prevention and Control Committee in Zamboanga City Medical Center. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in our own home, Dr. Sebar Sala. Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes po, yes.
Nakikita niyo ang slides?
Sure. Just?
Nakikita ang slides? Okay. Okay na? Hello? Hello? Slides already?
Yeah.
Nakikita na?
Yes po. We can see the slide na po.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to thank you for that introduction. No, I also would like to thank the organizers of this webinar for inviting me to talk on COVID-related matters, especially now that we are in pandemic time. So our discussion for today is geared toward combating this infodemic, and that is why my topic is on COVID-19, what you need to know about. So our objectives for this afternoon session, number one is we would like to discuss the basics and recent developments, because itong COVID, evolving information kasi almost every day nag-change yung information. So we want to discuss the recent developments on SARS-CoV-2 and as well as COVID-19. Now, we also would like to provide you an updates on the current trends of COVID-19 cases, not just in the Philippines, but even kahit doon sa worldwide. Kung titingnan natin ano yung trend ng cases worldwide, the Philippines, and particular also in Zamboanga City. Now, other objective that I have here is we want to prove or debunk some issues in COVID-19 and discuss the supporting evidence. Kasi pag-usapan ngayon yung unang-una yung transmission ng COVID. I-explain kasi ng scientists that this is an airborne transmission, so pag-uusapan natin later on. And then, of course, yung the use of rapid antibody test as diagnostic test for COVID, kasi nga parang issue din to for the past few couple of months, naging issue itong rat because of the adapting to the new normal. Parang gusto ng lahat magparat. So, and then of course, we will discuss on issues about the fatality because lahat takot magkaroon ng COVID. So, gusto natin i-emphasize yung how fatal itong COVID-19 and some of the infection control practices. And lastly, we will emphasize also the recommended control measures and prevention practices in the context of COVID-19. Okay. So to start with, what are coronaviruses? Now, itong coronaviruses, these are actually large group of viruses, not only found in animals, but also in human beings. And if you can see in your screen, meron yan silang peculiarities, So there are peculiarities among coronavirus. Itong tinatawag nilang protein spikes. These are important for coronavirus because ito yung, kung wala ito, hindi magkakaroon ang isang tao ng sakit ng COVID. Kasi ang role nitong protein spikes, this will attach to the receptors of the human cell. Particularly yung tinatawag nila ACE2 receptor or antisense enzyme receptors. And aside from that also, this receptor, these protein spikes resemble that of a crown. Kaya ang tawag sa kanila ay coronaviruses. Pero generally speaking, itong coronaviruses, usually they only cause mild disease, common colds, fever, and sore throat. In fact, 10 to 30% of our viral upper respiratory tract infection are actually caused by coronavirus. But there are other strains that can cause or that can progress to severe disease such as pneumonia and even breathing difficulties. Okay, so ang coronavirus, apat yan sila ang genera. No? We have the alpha coronavirus, the beta coronavirus, the delta coronavirus, and the gamma coronaviruses. Pero ang pag-uusapan lang natin, itong common sa human being, no? These are the alpha and the beta are the ones that can cause human coronavirus infections. Now, among these two groups, no? Itong nakapula, yung naka-font na red, HCOV OC43 at saka yung NL63, these are the most commonly isolated species and the most common of upper respiratory tract infections, yung sinasabi ko na 10 to 30%. So at that time, itong coronavirus, hindi siya pinapansin ng mga scientists because ang kadalasan ng sakit na dinadala nito ay very mild, no? Very mild upper respiratory tract infection lang, cough and colds, fever, or sore throat. Until lumabas itong SARS, no? SARS, yung umpisang SARS, yung dating 2002, lumabas yung SARS, nag-epidemic yun sa China, and then sinundan itong MERS-CoV noong 2012 sa Saudi Arabia. Okay? So these new strains can range from asymptomatic to cough and colds to pneumonia to and even to critical illnesses such as respiratory failure or acute respiratory distress syndrome and even progress to death. So medyo na-alarm yung WHO nung lumabas itong dalawang strains ng coronavirus. Hence, they made these viruses as priority and in their priority pathogen list. And then on 2019, ito ng bago ng SARS-CoV-2, although the information regarding this virus are still evolving as to pathogenesis, transmission, and treatment. Okay, we'll just go back. Medyo babalikan natin yung anong nangyari, no? Itong key events, important events nung nagkaroon itong pandemic. Okay, so it was in December 31 of 2019 when the WHO received report na mayroon nakikitang pneumonia clusters, no, sa Wuhan, China. Tapos, in-investigate yun. And then on January 7, they found out that the virus that caused the pneumonia among this group of people are actually coming from the group of coronaviruses. And then on January 13, mayroon ng outside China cases. I mean, first confirmed case rather, outside China, which was in Thailand. No? So noong January 30, dineclare ng WHO as global emergency. And then nagkaroon ng first confirmed death outside China noong February 2, that is in the Philippines. Okay? So, noong February 11, tinawag na nila itong COVID-19, no? Itong sakit na to as COVID-19. And then, dineclare nila ang pandemic noong March 11, 2020. And by June 29, there were already more than 10 million cases worldwide. So, we still are knowing the trajectory, hindi pa natin masyado alam yung trajectory nitong coronavirus kung hanggang kailan ito ang matatapos or hanggang anong extent pa ba ito, no? Mag-i-end. Okay, so where did the virus, no? Saan ba nanggaling itong virus na to, no? So ang initial theory was it came actually from the bats, no? So ang coronavirus ay nanggaling dito sa bats and then nag-mutate eventually to other animals. So, pumunta sa civet cats nung panahon ng SARS-CoV-2, nakita ito yung naging reservoir nila, yung civet cat. Nagkaroon sila ng mutation. And then another mutation came over sa camel naman itong this time, noong 2012, kaya lumabas itong MERS-CoV. No? Dito nanggaling yung MERS-CoV. Ngayon, yung 2019 sa pangolin. No? Pangolin yung iniisip or tinitingnan, although medyo hindi pa masyado clear, pero ito kasi yung nakitang animal doon sa Wuhan market na pwedeng may kinalaman dito sa pag-spread ng SARS-CoV. So what is important, what is clear about this is that the virus actually circulated in a range of animals, pero hindi sila doon na-satisfy sa animals lang. Ang nangyari, spill over, no? Pumasok sila sa human beings, kaya nagkaroon din tayo ng coronavirus disease. Okay? So, how did it start? Una, nung napansin nung 2019, mayroon silang nakitang people, no? Chinese people na puro pneumonia yung kaso sa hospital, napansin ito, no? Marang groups or clusters of pneumonia in a group of people. And so medyo na-alarm yung health authority at that time. And so they made an investigation, an epidemiologic investigation, and they found out that these people who had pneumonia, may kinalaman, no? Mayroon silang link doon sa seafood and live animal market in Wuhan, China. And then eventually, these people or group of people infected also their members or their family members in their homes, and even the healthcare workers, because at that point in time, medyo hindi pa uso yung PPE, no, yung paggamit ng personal protective equipment, because akala ng mga healthcare worker at that time, this is just a parang common case of pneumonia na hindi mo naman kailangan mag-PPE. So eventually, since wala silang protection at that time, the healthcare workers also became infected, and then it spread, no, not only in China, and but also to the other countries, and it became pandemic nga. Okay, so what's the disease burden? Now let's talk about the basic reproduction number of, let's compare SARS, MERS, and COVID. So pag sinabi nating basic reproduction number, ito yung sa epidemiology, ang abbreviation nito is R0 or R0 ang tawag dyan. This is the number of people that a person or a sick person can infect others, no? So for example, if you look at the SARS, the RO or the R0 is 2 to 4, meaning bawat isang pasyente na may SARS, pwede siya mag-infect ng hanggang 4 na pasyente. So yung 4 na pasyente, pwede mag-infect hanggang 16, 4 times 4, 16. So parang gano'n ang ano. So the total cases, pero hindi siya masyado nag-spread, no, throughout the world, kasi ang total cases was only 8,000, no? Pero marami silang deaths, around almost 10% ang namatay ng time na yon. Now sa panahon ng MERS, ang RO was very low, less than a person. Hindi masyado siya pag sinabi pala natin RO, this is the spreadability of the disease, no? Ito yung kakayahan ng isang tao mag-spread ng sakit, no, from one person to the other. So sa MERS, less than one person lang ang involved. So kunti lang yung cases, kaya lang kasi very fatal siya, 34% actually died at that time. Na ngayon, itong COVID, ang RO natin is 2 to 3 or 2 to 2.5. Pero sabihin na natin 3 kasi wala namang 2.5 person. No? So 3. So bawat isang COVID patient, pwede siya mag-infect ng 3 pasyente. So yung 3 pasyente, makaka-infect din siya, magiging siyam na sila. Ang ma-infect niya ay siyam. Yung siyam, bawat isa 3, magiging 27. So ganun katindi ang spreadability ng COVID-19. So kaya nga, as of this time, ilan na ba ang cases infected? More than 13 million already. So because of that spreadability na 2 to 3 bawat isang infected, umabot na tayo ng 13 million in just about 5 months or 6 months. No? Still, America pa din ang nangunguna. Actually, medyo malayo na ang lamang ng Amerika, nasa 7 million na compared sa Europe, which is almost 3 million. Tayo nasa Southeast Asia, 1.2 million. Now, pumapangalawa na tayo, medyo tumataas ang kaso sa Pilipinas, no? Pumapangalawa na tayo sa Indonesia among the top 5 Southeast Asian COVID-19 cases. So, Indonesia ang number 1, pangalawa ang Philippines. Dati Singapore ang pangalawa, pero natalo na natin ang Singapore. Okay? So, sa Pilipinas, yan na, 61,000 already, no, as of yesterday. And 62% of those are actually the active cases. So meaning, yung mga 38% nag-resolve na sila. But just to complete the count, 61% na ang total. Ngayon, ang active cases ay 38,000. Pero tingnan ninyo, kadalasan or karamihan sa kanila, majority of them are actually mild. No? 90.7% are mild. Asymptomatic, 8.5%. So kung titingnan mo dito, ang severe at saka critical cases ay about 9.9% or less than 1%. So medyo konti lang yung medyo toxic, no? Puro mild ang presentation dito sa Pilipinas. And that is, I think, a good indication, no? Na hindi masyado nakakatakot itong COVID dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, so tingnan natin ang Mindanao data. Zamboanga City is already second to Davao City in terms of number of cases. And take note, Basilan is already number 4. That is as of July 15, 2020. Okay, so sa ating region lang, sa Zamboanga Peninsula, there are already 451 confirmed cases. So, nandito yung lahat ng provinces sa ating region ay already mayroon ng kaso, no? Sa Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga Sibugay, Zamboanga del Sur, Isabela, no? Okay, so ito yung trend sa atin sa Zamboanga City. Take note, in Zamboanga City, nagkaroon ng case. First case started noong March 25. So kung titingnan mo dito, from March to April, halos walang case, no? Paisa-isa lang. Tapos medyo mabagal ang turnaround time ng laboratory ng results because sinisend out natin sa Manila pa nung time na to. Nung May, biglang umakyat itong first week of May. Dito kasi, dito na na-found out yung mga persons deprived of liberties, no? Ito mga sa city jail to, no? Biglang umakyat, daming city jail na involved na patients. So hanggang dito. Tapos nung ditong time na to, dito na lumabas yung ating laboratory, no? Mayroon na tayong RT-PCR test available dito sa atin. Kaya kung titingnan mo, halos everyday may results lumalabas. So yan. Tapos medyo naglaylo nung paubos na na-check na lahat ang PDLs, medyo bumaba yung case dito ng June, late part of June or first part of June. Pero nung dumating na yung mga locally stranded individuals, yung mga galing sa Manila, galing sa Cebu, yung mga stranded, at saka yung mga returning overseas Filipinos, medyo biglang umakyat din ulit ang kaso. Tapos titingnan natin, nung mag-MGCQ, halos wala nang araw na walang kaso. So every day, mayroon na tayong palaging nakikita. Plus of course, yung LSI. So ganun ang, medyo pataas tayo ng pataas ngayon ng cases, no, ng COVID. So as of July 15, so far, ang na-register nila is 356 already cases. Kasi may dinadagdag ng isang araw na 14 cases. Okay? So, we'll go to the first issue, no? Ano pa, how is COVID-19 transmitted? Usap-usapan yan, in fact, this has been the subject of debate, no, in the past, no, when the coronavirus or when COVID-19 started to become pandemic. And just recently, parang pinag-uusapan ulit na pwede daw itong coronavirus airborne transmission. In fact, hundreds of scientists worldwide has claimed na itong coronavirus is actually airborne. So, pinadala nila itong claim nila doon sa WHO lately, no? Okay. So, let's take a look at the schematic diagram, no, of respiratory transmission route. So paano ba pag respiratory transmission, ano ba ang possibility na mode of transmission? So you can have here, pwede airborne, pwede droplet, pwede direct contact, or indirect contact. So take a look at this. This is the infected individual. Umubos siya or bumahing siya, no? Sneezes or coughs out, nag-release siya ng droplets. Pag sinabing droplets, large particles yan. So yung lumabas sa respiratory system was large particles. It's more than 5 micron. And the travel, since large siya, hindi siya masyado nagta-travel ng malayo. So less than a meter lang. Kaya ang social distancing, ang suggestion is less than 1 meter or at least 1 meter. Kasi ang droplet, pag droplet kasi, ang abutan lang niya is hanggang 1 meter lang. Pero kung kunyari itong si patient, nag-release out siya ng maliliit na particles that is less than 5 micron, these particles can remain suspended in the air for quite a long time. So pwede siya tatagal. And the travel period or the travel, it can travel farther, no, from 1 meter up to 3 meters minsan, no? So and then magtatagal siya sa air. So magiging airborne siya. Pag ito lang, droplet lang siya. Now, what about direct contact? Pag sinabi mong direct contact, yung person to person, nag-shake ng hands, no? That is direct contact. Or kunyari, nag-hug kayo ng isang tao na infected, so direct contact. In other words, there is a direct exposure from an infected person to the uninfected person. So, yung indirect contact, ito, yung kunyari itong droplet, since hindi naman siya nagta-travel ng malayo, nahuhulog siya. Kaya tawag sa kanya ay droplets. Nahuhulog lang siya sa surface. But, kung nahawakan mo yung surface kung saan siya nahulog, tapos wala kang gloves, kunyari, unprotected yung kamay mo, hinawakan mo itong surface na to, tapos yung kamay mo ginamit mo sa mukha mo, or ginamit mo sa mukha mo, sa eyes, sa face, or sa nose, which are mucous membranes kung saan doon nagtathrive ang virus, So pwede yun, magkaroon ka rin ng COVID by that way. That is called fomites transmission. So indirect contact ang tawag doon. Okay, just to clarify further on the difference between droplet and airborne, yun nga, droplet, large particles, airborne, smaller particles or smallest particles. Tapos, ang droplet, hindi nagtatravel ng malayo, about 1 meter lang ang kaya niya, then nagda-drop na siya or nahuhulog na siya doon sa surface. Whereas ang airborne, malayo ang natatravel niya, tapos it remains suspended in the air for quite a long time. So aabot siya ng more than 6 feet. An example of droplet is your Ebola, your influenza, or your SARS. An example of your airborne is your measles, tuberculosis, or your chickenpox. Okay? So ito yung difference ng droplet versus airborne. Pero going back to COVID-19, balik tayo doon sa COVID-19. How can one get COVID-19? Okay. So number one is animal to person spread. Kasi nga, may initial, yung study nila dati, I mean, yung first group of patients na doon sa Wuhan, may link sila doon sa large seafood and live animal Wuhan market. So, doon pa lang, alam na nila na this is an animal to person spread. Pero later on, kasi nga na-involve na rin yung family members, na-involving healthcare workers, so pwede rin pala ang person to person spread, no? Kasi yung ganun, wala namang exposure yun sa animal market. So, through what? Through close contacts, no? By respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs or sneezes. Or when you touch a surface, no, that has the virus, then touching his or her own mouth, nose, or eyes. Yung sinasabi ko na pwede mong makuha sa surface, kunyari, tapos yung surface na may virus doon, napunta ang virus sa kamay, yung kamay ginamit sa mukha, so pwede ka magkaroon ng virus. It's important to note the touching a surface because the coronavirus can persist, no, on surfaces. For example, sa clothes natin, pwede siya aabot ng 72 hours. Buhay siya hanggang 72 hours. So, pag hindi mo nahugasan or hindi mo nalabhan yung damit mo na infected or contaminated with virus, pwede yun siya makahawa. Or balik for example, your gloves. For example, you are having a duty in COVID area, COVID hospital. Tapos, although naka-gloves ka nga, so yung gloves mo, aabot yun ng 8 hours. Doon magpipersist ang virus ng about 8 hours. Tapos, kunyari, naka-gloves ka, pero nag-charting ka kaagad, hindi ka nag-change ng gloves. So ngayon, ang sa paper, aabot siya ng 4 to 5 days. Kung ang pumalit sa'yo, ang nag-chart na hindi na naka-gloves, kunyari, ang next patient or ang next person, ang next nurse na humawak ng chart, ay walang gloves. Kasi nga, hindi naman siya na-expose sa loob sa patient. So, hindi siya nag-gloves. So, nahawaan na rin siya. So, pwedeng ganon na possibility. Hindi lang puro droplet or puro transmission from exposure from person to person. No? So, pwedeng ganitong scenario na pwede sa surfaces or sa other areas, other inanimate objects. So, plastic, for example, 5 days, glass, 4 days, wood, 4 days, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, sa mga COVID patients, meron tayong minsan kasi nagto-toxic, no, nagde-deteriorate yung patient. So, minsan kailangan natin gumawa ng procedure na which can actually generate high concentrations of infectious respiratory aerosols. No? In that case, pwede siya magiging airborne. So when we do aerosol generating procedures. So ano ba yung mga aerosol generating procedures? So for example, you do suctioning in which you use the open suctioning, no, of the airways. Kasi mayroon yan closed suctioning at saka mayroon open suctioning. Ang kadalasan gamit sa hospital ay open suctioning. So yung pag open suctioning, sinasuction mo inside, lalabas yung droplet nuclei, so magiging airborne yung transmission ng COVID. Or you induce a sputum, gusto mo kumuha ng sputum samples, tapos since hindi naman, kunyari hindi nahihirapan ka, so gusto mo mag-sputum induction, so pwede rin ganun. Or nagtotoxic ang patient, nag-CPR kayo sa pasyente, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or nag-intubate, or nag-extubate, or gumamit ng BiPAP, CPAP, no? Or other routes, no, bronchoscopy or bagging, no, manual ventilation, ambu-bagging, and even nebulization. These are all aerosol generating procedures that can cause the coronavirus be transmitted through airborne. Okay? So doon sa claim ng scientists, no, na coronavirus is airborne, ang sabi ng WHO as of last week, no, According to the WHO, current evidence suggests that transmission of COVID would still be through direct, indirect, and even through respiratory droplets. Airborne transmission occurs only in setting where there is what you call yung aerosol generating procedures. In other words, pag outside the hospital environment ka, pwede naman siya hindi actually airborne transmission. There are some studies that if one person is infected inside a room na medyo hindi maganda ang ventilation, pwede yon magiging airborne transmission at that time. So as of this time, ang contention ng WHO is that COVID-19 is still transmitted via droplets and not necessarily through airborne. But it can be possible also for some point. Now let's take a look at the toll of the virus and the virus takes on the body and how it progresses. The incubation period takes around 4 to 6 days, average of 5 days. Pag sinabi natin incubation period, this is the time when your patient gets exposed to an infected individual up to the time the patient develops the first symptom. Okay? So ito yung time na yung tawag sa kanila ay incubation period. Average of 5 days, pero it can be as long as 14 days. Okay? So pwede siya tumagal hanggang 14 days. Kaya ang quarantine period is up to 14 days. Now, after the incubation period, the patient now starts to develop symptoms. And yung initial symptoms usually fever and then upper respiratory tract symptoms such as your cough, your colds, and then sore throat. And now, majority of your patients, around 80% based on this study, ay dito lang, hanggang dito lang, hindi na nagpa-progress. Pero kunyari, nag-progress siya, by day 4 to 9, papasok na sa lungs, dito na yung time na magkakaroon ng patient ng labored breathing. No? Nahihirapan na huminga yung pasyente because of the inflammation now of the lungs that may lead to acute respiratory distress syndrome or ARDS. Now, take note, 14% of those patients will have this kind of manifestation. And then later on, pag nag-progress pa din, so magiging pumapasok na sa blood, magkakaroon ng pasyente ng life-threatening complications such as your sepsis. However, only 5% of those patients will develop these symptoms. So since kadalasan or majority of the patients are actually belonging to this group, no? Around 94. In fact, sa Philippine data, 99% itong very mild lang, no? Symptoms. So let's take a look or let's track the progression of those people with mild symptoms. So ganito yon. So you are exposed, your incubation period is between 4 to 6 days. That can be up to 14 days. And then magde-develop ng symptoms. Your illness will last for about 10 days. Then you become asymptomatic. And then on the day 14, you will be released already from the isolation center or a quarantine facility. You don't need to be retested. No? Sa ngayon, hindi na kailangan mag-retest. Kung umabot ka na ng 14 days na nag-resolve na ang symptoms mo, pwede ka nang i-release sa isolation. Now, take note that the infectious period, kung hanggang kailan ka infectious sa ibang tao, is around 8 to 10 days or sometimes 11 days. Base doon sa study ng Singapore, by 11-day period, that is the time when you are already not infectious to the other. So, kaya ang suggestion, ang recommendation now is by 14 day, you kahit kunyari by 14 day tinest ka ulit tapos positive ka pa ulit, that is only viral remnants. Kumbaga, kahit positive ka, hindi na yun siya significant. In other words, you cannot anymore transmit the virus to other individuals, no? After 14th day period because 10 days lang yung infectiousness ng COVID. So what are the common signs? Of course, fever, cough, and shortness of breath. Okay, tatlo lang. Itong pinaka-common. Marami pa, pero kadalasan ng pasyente, ito yung presentation nila. Minsan, loss of smell or anosmia or loss of taste. Okay? Which are more specific. But ito, hindi ito specific for COVID. But kadalasan ng ating pasyente na observe ay ito yung manifestation. Okay? So, what is now the new classification? How do we classify COVID-19? Pag pumunta sa hospital, paano natin kinaklasify? Dati ang classification is PUM or PUI, no? PUM, persons under monitoring, or PUI, persons under investigation. Pero binago na ngayon Department of Health. So it's either you are suspect, you are probable, or you're confirmed. So anong difference? Anong definition ng suspect, probable, at saka confirmed? Okay, pag sinabi mong suspect, tatlo yung definition niya, either of these three. Number one is ILI cases, meaning influenza-like illness cases. So, anong manifestation nito? Cough, fever, sore throat, colds. So yun, tapos plus history of travel, plus confirmed contact with confirmed or probable COVID-19. Although medyo hindi siya masyado effective yung pagkuha ng, sometimes walang history of travel, walang history of contact, hindi na napapansin, pero may ILI symptoms, so kinususpect na namin as COVID suspect. Now, minsan ang patient darating sa hospital, SARI, or severe acute respiratory infections with no other etiology to explain. No? So, pag pumasok ang pasyente mo na severe dyspnea, automatic yun. Isususpect na siya as COVID. Ng COVID. The other way is, kung ang patient mo ay mayroon isang symptom sa mga sumusunod, fever, pwede may cough lang, or shortness of breath, or any other respiratory symptoms, pero yung patient ay elderly, okay? Or yung patient mo may ibang sakit sa puso, sakit high blood, hypertension, diabetes, sakit sa puso, liver disease, kidney disease. So yung mga comorbid illness, so pwede mo siya i-consider kaagad as suspect. Or ang patient mo ay having a high-risk pregnancy, pre-eclampsia, eclampsia. These are pregnancies na high-risk na pwede siyang sabihin na pwede siyang suspect. Or like us, healthcare worker, pag nagkaroon tayo ng fever or cough and colds lang, kahit walang ibang symptoms, considered tayo kaagad as suspect. Kasi nga yung exposure natin sa pasyente. Now, what is the difference between a suspect case from a probable case? Pag sinabi mong probable, suspect pa din ang patient. Kaso lang, itong probable case, medyo na-test na sila. No? Na-test na sila na ang result either negative or inconclusive. Pero the manifestation of these patients are typical, are classic to COVID-19. So negative ang result, pero kung titingnan mo, mukhang COVID na COVID ang presentation. Ang X-ray parang COVID, ang CT scan parang COVID, ang laboratory results parang COVID. So nililabel namin sila as probable. Yung confirm, walang problema kasi may positive results ka na. So, confirmed case siya. Now, kanina, sinabi ko itong contact with confirm. Ano bang ibig sabihin natin ng contact? Sino ba yung mga contact? Okay. So, the definition of contact is a person who experienced any of the following exposure during 2 days before the onset of illness of the infected or within the 14th day after the onset of symptoms of an index person, meaning yung infected person. So, kunyari, between that period, nagkaroon kayo ng face-to-face contact within 1 meter and for more than 50 minutes. So, contact ka. Ang tawag sa'yo ay may contact, may close contact ka doon sa patient. Or mayroon kang direct physical contact with the index case or yung probable or confirmed case. Mayroon kang you are for example, nurse, since nurse tayo, no, direct care, ikaw ang nag-care sa patient na may confirmed COVID without using proper PPE. So automatic yun, direct contact. Or any other situations as may be indicated by local risk assessment. Okay. So, tapos na tayo doon, pasok tayo dito sa issue number 2. Usap-usapan, especially yung bumalik na yung GCQ. Nag-return na yung yung personnel, no? Return of workers, no? Returning of workers na, yung time na bumabalik na yung workers. Gusto lahat ng agencies magpa-rapid test. Gusto lahat ng LGUs rapid antibody test ang lahat ng personnel para ma-clear. So ang question now is, can rapid antibody test be used to diagnose COVID-19? Okay, so in terms of diagnostics, RT-PCR, or this is reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction, this remains the gold standard in diagnostic for COVID-19. And the turnaround time, depende kung saan laboratory sinin. No? Kunyari sa CCMC laboratory, within 24 hours, we already have the results. Pero kung sa Department of Agriculture, no PCR test, pwede aabot ng 48 hours or more yung results no, bago lumabas. Although, RT-PCR, kahit gold standard siya, hindi rin perfect test. No? Positivity of RT-PCR depends on the timing of the test that is done and the type of the specimen collected. For example, yung ginagawa natin is nasal swabs and pharyngeal swabs. Yung nasal swabs can only yield about 63% positivity rate. Tapos yung pharyngeal swabs around 32%. Medyo mababa lang yung positivity rate nitong dalawang to. At ito naman ang palagi. Pero pag i-combine mo sila, pwede tataas ang positivity rate. So, nagmamatter yon. So, hindi naman actually 100% na detect. And also, in terms of timing, if you test your patient on day 1 of exposure, magne-negative talaga yon. Negative talaga. 0% ang positivity rate pag tinest mo siya on day 1 of exposure. Kunyari, ngayong araw siya na-expose, titest mo siya agad, wala yon, wala kang makikita doon. Negative talaga yon. Now, if you test your patient on day 5 of exposure, that means day 5, no? Patapos na yung incubation period. I mean, nag-i-start ka na mag-develop ng symptoms. No? Kasi ang incubation period natin is up to day 5 or although hanggang 14 days, pero day 5 usually mag-i-start na ang first symptom ng pasyente. So may symptom ka na, first day of fever, dito, 62% mag-register as positive. Okay? So day 8, pero ito, kung day 8 mo kinuha ang swab, that is around 3 days of exposure, from the time of exposure, 80%. So mataas ang yield kung day 8 siya nakuha ang test. No? Now ngayon, kung day 21 naman, medyo bumababa na yung positivity rate. This is the time when your patient usually have no more symptoms. So 34% lang ang positivity rate ng RT-PCR. So RT-PCR is the gold standard, but it is not a perfect test. So what about rapid antibody test? So ano ba yung rapid antibody test? Bakit gustong-gusto ng lahat magpa-rapid antibody test? Okay. So rapid antibody test actually is a test that qualitatively detects the IgM and the IgG antibodies against COVID in human serum, plasma, and venous. But it is only used for auxiliary diagnosis of COVID-19. Okay? So, RAT cannot be used as a standalone test. Take note of that. It cannot be used as a standalone test, and it cannot be used for screening. Neither can it be used for mass testing or self-testing. What might happen if we use the SARS-CoV-2 antibody test to diagnose COVID? Now, take a look at this figure, for example. You subject your 1,000 patients to antibody tests. 298 of those will turn out positive. But the false positive is very high. 216 will turn out to be false positive. And then 702 will turn out negative, and yun. So, in other words, basing on this figure, the accuracy of your rapid antibody test has only the following: sensitivity of 41% and specificity of 73%. That's why it cannot be used as a standalone test. It cannot be used for screening or mass testing. Okay? So, the use of RAT as an adjunct test, take a look at this. So, pag sinabi mong RAT, ang tinitingnan mo is IgM at saka IgG. Pero anong message nitong sinabi ng Department of Health? So regardless, pwede kang negative-negative, pwedeng negative-positive, pwedeng positive-negative, or both positive. Pero regardless of these results, kung kahit saan ka man nag-fall dyan, the RT-PCR should still be done and the patient should still be isolated if highly suspicious for COVID. So in other words, so that's why ang recommendation, pwedeng gamitin ang RAT, but it cannot be used as standard. And if you use the RAT, usually ginagawa natin ito on the 14th day. Ang gusto lang natin malaman is ma-identify kung nag-develop na yung pasyente natin ng antibodies to COVID, which is their IgG. Okay. So, yan. So we go to treatment. As of the present moment, there is no current evidence from RCTs to recommend any specific treatment for COVID. Wala pa tayong nahanap na gamot para sa COVID. What we can do is meticulous supportive care in the management of these patients. Okay. So, just to show you itong mga drugs pwedeng gamitin sa COVID, but these are all investigational drugs. Hindi pa to siya recommended. Like for example, dati kasi ginagamit namin itong chloroquine, itong lopinavir, ritonavir was also used by CCMC. Unfortunately, itong chloroquine at saka lopinavir showed no sufficient evidence to recommend. In fact, maraming namamatay kung ginamit mo ang pasyente chloroquine because of its cardiac side effects such as your arrhythmias. So we cannot, so that the current contention now of the Philippine Society for Microbiology and Infectious Diseases is to discourage the use of this chloroquine at saka lopinavir. Now ngayon, mayroon tayong remdesivir. Medyo maganda yung study, although hindi naman siya 100% talagang cure rates, pero remdesivir, promising yung results. And then we have here the tocilizumab, although the tocilizumab is only used for complications such as when your patient develops cytokine storm, but for COVID alone, we don't use. But these two drugs are used for critically ill patients. So, nung May 1, ang Gilead, which is the company that is producing this remdesivir, naka-receive sila ng FDA approval for emergency use. No? They were authorized to use this remdesivir. But take note, this can only be used for severe COVID cases. So we don't use for moderate, we don't use for mild cases ng itong remdesivir ng gamot. Now, recently, lumabas ang study ng dexamethasone. This is still a preliminary report from the recovery trial. Tiningnan nila yung effect ng dexamethasone sa 28-day mortality. Anong nakita? So among patients who are moderate to severe, meaning oxygen-requiring patients, medyo maganda yung effect, no? Better yung dexamethasone. Pag binigyan mo sila ng dexamethasone, mababa ang mortality. In fact, sa finding nila, for patients on ventilators, yung mga naka-MEC vent, the treatment was shown to reduce mortality by about 1/3. And for patients requiring only oxygen lang, hindi ventilator, the mortality was cut by about 1/5. And this has been welcomed already by the WHO. In other words, nire-recommend na siya ngayon ng WHO in the treatment of critically ill patients. So but again, hindi rin natin ginagamit ang dexamethasone to mild cases, to asymptomatic patients, or to prevent COVID-19. Okay, so much so, what about fatality of COVID? Okay, so for the fatality of COVID, sorry, nag-blackout ako. Okay, so fatality of COVID, okay, prognosis, no? Takot ang everybody, lahat tayo ay takot, no, sa COVID kasi ang iniisip natin is itong COVID ay fatal, no? Or aside from the fact na very malaki ang stigma kasi nito, pero isa pa doon yung natatakot tayo because akala natin na nakakamatay talaga itong COVID. Take note that according to the study, this is done in China, mild cases, yung sinabi ko na to kanina, mild cases around 80%, severe cases 14%, ang critical ay 5%. Pero sa Philippine data, 99% are mild lang, no? 1% lang itong severe and critical. So, sa Pilipinas yan. Okay. So, sino ba yung mga namamatay? So, ito, older ages. Okay? 50 to hanggang to more than 80. Tapos, mga lalaki, marami, significant yung sa mga males na namamatay. And, of course, yung taong may comorbid conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, chronic respiratory disease, such as your COPD or cancer. So these are the ito yung mga factors, no, na nag-predispose the patient to die from COVID. Okay, so again, elderly are most at risk from coronavirus because aside from their age, sila yung group of patients na immunocompromised, medyo mahina na yung immune system. And of course, sila din yung patients na tawag nito, maraming comorbid illness. Kaya sila yung kadalasang namamatay. Okay. Now, what about the case fatality rates? So, kinompare dito yung case fatality rates ng flu, ng SARS, MERS, at saka COVID. So, if we base it on this data, yung flu, 0.1%, no? Pero ang daming na-infect, no? 0.1% of 1 million lang ang namamatay. Yung SARS, 9.6% ang na-record na deaths. Yung MERS, 34%. Pinaka-notorious na among the coronavirus is the MERS coronavirus, na 34% ang fatality. What about COVID-19? So COVID-19, nag-register siya ng around 4% worldwide. Pero sa Pilipinas, 2.6% or less than 3%. So medyo mababa lang yung fatality. So kung titingnan mo, hindi siya masyado the fatality or it can be fatal, pero among those group of patients who are elderly, who are having comorbid conditions and who are immunocompromised. Okay. So Another issue here is, usap-usapan din, no? I-expose mo yung sarili mo sa sun para ma-protect daw yung, para hindi ka daw magkaroon ng COVID-19. Medyo lumalabas ito sa social media. And then spraying, no? Like sa India, ginagawa nila to, no? Spraying with bleach or other disinfectant to protect you against COVID. How true is this? We'll find out. So, ano ba yung minimum health standards? Now, the CDC has recommended, or not only CDC, all health authorities have recommended this minimum health standards. So ano ba yung mga minimum health standards? Number one is social distancing. Okay? This is how we prevent, COVID-19. So we have to engage ourselves in this minimum health standards. So stay at least 6 feet, although ang recommendation pwede 1 meter lang or 3 feet away from one person to the other. So social distancing. Then you cover your nose or your mouth when you cough or sneeze. Then you wear face mask at all times. Do not touch your nose, your eyes, or your mouth. And then stay at home when you are sick. And most importantly is wash your hands as often as you can. So these are the minimum health standard. Why we want this to be done by everyone? Because we want everyone to cooperate in order to what? In order to flatten the curve. So ito yung gusto natin mangyari, flattening the curve. Ano bang ibig sabihin pag sinabi mong flattening of the curve? Take note of this, no? Figure. So this is when you don't do that measures. Ang mangyayari, there will be a steep rise of cases. Now, kunyari, hanggang dito lang ang capacity ng healthcare system. Kung pinataas mo ang cases, ma-overwhelm ang healthcare system. So hindi kakayanin, kukulangin tayo ng manpower, kukulangin ng resources. So ang tendency is maraming mamamatay, maraming hindi mabibigyan ng care sa paggamot, no, sa pasyente na may COVID. But ang gusto natin is at least there is an uptick of cases. Hindi siya masyadong biglang taas. Mapa-flatten natin ang curve. Ang gusto natin is i-flatten yung curve in such a way that it will not overburden our capacity of our healthcare system to perform. So, maganda nito is quality yung ating pag-care sa ating mga pasyente. Now, the idea of flattening is to stagger, no, the number of cases over a period of time so that people have better access to healthcare. So, yan. So, pag ginawa natin lahat ng recommendations ng CDC, yun, kaya natin i-flatten ang curve. Pero it should be done by all people. Hindi lang isang tao ang gagawa. Kasi kung ang iba lumalabag din, hindi rin nag-social distancing, hindi rin nag-face mask, so wala din mangyari. So, hindi mo rin mapa-flatten yung curve. Okay, so isa-isay natin. How do we wash? We'll not discuss how do we wash because it needs demonstration and return demo. But when do we wash? Okay, so we want
pa siya na
preparation. So before and after we eat, before and after we take care of our patients, before and after we sneeze or we cough, or before or after rather we handle the garbage. So these are the time when we should wash our hands. But more importantly, as healthcare workers, we have to put it in our hearts that we have 5 moments, no, for hand hygiene. No? As healthcare worker, nurses tayo, doctor tayo. So before you touch your patient, wash your hands first. No? Before you do a procedure to your patient, wash your hands first. Or after you've been exposed to a fluid, or let's say urine, humawak ka ng urine ng pasyente, humawak ka ng feces ng pasyente, humawak ka ng respiratory secretions ng pasyente. So you have to wash your hands. Or after touching your patient, and also if you have exposure to the patient surroundings, no? After touching your patient surroundings, yung mga bed rails, yung mga linens, etc. So you have to wash your hands. These are very important 5 moments of hand hygiene. In the absence of water and soap, you can use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Now, what is the right way of wearing our surgical mask? Okay? Ang recommendation is colored out, white in. Why is that so? Okay? Because the colored is the non-absorbent layer. Okay? And this will prevent infected fluid from reaching the user's nose and mouth. Okay? Yung sa labas ng ng face mask yon, kunyari inubuhan ka ng infected patient, hindi yun siya non-absorbent kasi siya. So hindi mapupunta doon sa mouth mo or sa nose mo yung droplet ng pasyente. Mapoprotektahan ka. So, kasi non-absorbent siya. Samantala, yung inner layer is actually the absorbent that will protect also other individuals from getting infected. Kunyari, ikaw yung infected or yung secretions mo na pwede pumasok doon sa sa mask, hindi na sila labas kasi na-absorb na siya doon. So that is why it should be worn colored out or white in. Okay. Now, studies have shown there is a significant reduction in transmission of the disease if you do this physical distancing, you do your face mask and your eye protections. So bumababa yung percentage of transmission compared when you don't practice this interventions. Although, according to this study, hindi naman siya perfect. No? It cannot completely protect you against COVID-19. But the reduction of transmission for COVID, if you do these interventions, is very significant. Okay? So, that's why sabi ng DOH, if you're wearing your mask, the chance of transmission is reduced to 85%. If you wear your if you do practice physical distancing, that you can decrease the transmission by 80%. And if you use your face shield, you can reduce the transmission by 78%. Now, if you do everything according to one study, although it's not yet a published study, 99%, aabot hanggang 99% if you do everything, no? Pwede kang hindi talaga mahawakan ng COVID if you practice all of these interventions. Okay, so this minimum requirement for us as healthcare workers to ano ba yung dapat natin gamitin for PPE, no? Kunyari, you are a triaging personnel or a screening personnel, this is only the recommended surgical mask. If you're a swabber, ito yung kailangan mong suotin, and so on and so forth. This is the minimum standard, no? But depende rin yun sa availability. Kasi kung ang hospital mo ay maraming PPE, tapos ang policy ng hospital is to wear these coveralls, then coveralls tayo. So depende. But according to this, at least minimum, since nagkakaubusan na rin ng PPE, so ito yung requirement or yung recommendation. So going back to exposure to sun or kung nakaka-prevent na siya ng COVID, according to WHO, whether no matter how sunny or hot the weather is, you can still catch COVID. In other words, hindi siya protection. So kahit ibabad mo pa yung sarili mo for the whole day, walang mangyayari. Or what about spraying or the disinfectant to your body? Does it protect you or from COVID? Do not under any circumstance spray or introduce bleach or any disinfectant into your body, because these substances can be poisonous if ingested and can cause irritation and damage to your skin and your eyes. And it will not help. No? It will not protect you against COVID-19. Okay. So in summary, we just discussed SARS-CoV-2 that was originally transmitted from animal to human, and then human to human transmission was noted later on. And one can get the illness through droplets or fomites. However, airborne transmission is also possible if aerosol generating procedures are done to your patient. The most common symptoms, of course, we said it's fever, cough, and dyspnea. And the test that remains the gold standard is still the RT-PCR test or yung tinatawag natin na swab test. Okay? So there is still no specific drug to treat or prevent COVID. However, most of these patients will eventually recover. In fact, sa data ng Philippines, 99% of those patients will eventually recover. COVID-19 may be fatal, but only among elderly, among immunosuppressed, and among patients with comorbid illnesses. And everyone, in order to, yung sinasabi ko nga na, to flatten the curve, everyone should practice the minimum health standards, such as your hand hygiene, cough etiquette, physical distancing, and use of face masks at all times to prevent spread of COVID-19. So I guess that is the end of my lecture, but just a reminder for everyone, for accurate information, please find official advice from your country's public health authority. For us, it's the DOH and the Philippine Society for Microbiology and Infectious Diseases, or coming from, at least from the World Health Organization. Because take note, not everything you hear about COVID-19 is true. Thank you very much.